All right, welcome into Unbearable podcast. I am Ryan Voss, and with me, as always, is Drew Testa. Drew, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. I know we said we were gonna come back and be more consistent last time, but I'm gonna say it again, and this time I actually mean it. We're actually gonna try to put our best foot forward. At least we didn't take as long as gap as we have in the past, though.
Yeah, the only thing I think we could have missed was the Carson Wentz episode, and I was gonna come on and just tell everyone that these rumors, I didn't believe them one bit.
Really?
No, not at all. However, there are rumors I do believe, and that's obviously what we're going to talk about today. Russell Wilson. I don't think they're rumors. I'm pretty sure both sides have come out and said some things, and now we just got to dissect them. Before we move on, though, I mean, no free ads, obviously, but I got to shout out the shirt. It says "Beer Drinking Football Guys." My guys Hogan Johns put this out. If you're a Bears fan and you're not following those two on Twitter, you have to, and you also got to listen to their podcast. They're actual reporters. They actually have insight. They're in the locker room. We are literally just beer drinking football guys. That's why I wish that was our podcast name. I'm not going to steal this for them, but I did have it bring a beer for this episode.
Yeah. Also, if you watch this and you don't know who they are, that's kind of a bit unbelievable to me. But I mean, I'm sure anyone who watches this is at least familiar with them. I'd be very surprised if not.
All right. So I'm going to just come out and say this. I think it's more likely that Russell Wilson's our starting quarterback first game than it is Mr. Trubisky. Agree or disagree?
I mean, whenever you have a rumor with someone on Russell Wilson's caliber, it's definitely fun. And I think they've made it relatively clear that they're not interested in bringing back Trubisky at no matter what. So I could maybe agree to that. But I think that's more so of them making it clear that they don't want Trubisky, then they're going to get Russell Wilson. But I still could probably agree with that. Yeah.
The thing about Trubisky, and I know you can listen to any podcast, you can read any article, but it has to be said, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are in the final year of their contract. Actually, we don't know that for sure because George McCaskey didn't come out and say specifically what the contracts were like. They could have got extended. I guess we don't have to know that.
But they could also get fired at any time. So it's not like that really matters anyway.
And Ryan Pace is aggressive, so I'm not putting it past him to make this move. I really think if there's a GM in the league that would make this move, and considering the dire circumstances as well, they're going to make a big move. The thing that concerns me is I've heard two things. I've heard that no one has put out a better trade package for Deshaun than the Bears. I also heard that the Bears are going to make Russ their number one priority this offseason, which is completely unlike everything we've ever heard about the Bears. Usually the Bears are very secretive. When Mitch Trubisky was drafted, John Fox, the head coach, wasn't even told, hey, we're drafting Trubisky. That was a shocker to the head coach. I know that John Fox was fired after that season, but Ryan Pace is usually super secretive. Same with Khalil Mack. Nobody saw that coming. So the fact that the Bears are coming out and saying that they're interested in Deshaun and Russ scares me a little bit because I don't want it to just be a smoke screen. But on the other hand, so there could be a smoke screen, or where there's smoke, there's fire. What do you think of that situation?
Well, a couple thoughts about that. One is, even if it's a smoke screen, that means there's still something somewhere that you're putting a smoke screen up for. So
what if they're just putting a smoke screen up for Mac Jones? They don't want anyone to think they're going to draft him at 20.
I mean, is that really that big of a deal though? And B, another reason why I feel like it could be it's usually more secretive, and this time all these reports are coming out. I feel like that could be because Pace is maybe getting desperate because he knows this might be his last chance. So because maybe he's a little bit more out there and getting a little bit more desperate, he's not being as quiet, and this is the reason why people are finding out about these things, because he's not being as careful because he knows his time is ticking.
Okay. You just made me think of something. I think maybe they could be saying that to attract free agents. Right now, I think the Bears, especially after last season, doesn't seem like a place a lot of players would want to go. So if they're telling guys, hey, we want Deshaun, we want Russ, maybe free agents would be more likely to sign with them. And the reason they can do this and tell their plans is because both Deshaun and Russ have no trade clauses. So they have a ton of leverage in where they can go. If they say, I will only take a trade to the Bears, well, then Seattle they can only trade them to the Bears. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, here's the thing too, which I mean, this is not really, I guess, breaking anymore, but it did still happen today. Obviously, by the time we put this out and people see it, everyone will know that obviously Dak Prescott just got his deal re-upped. Congratulations to him. But if Russell Wilson, if the rumor that came out was true, and there were only 4 teams on his list that he would accept, and one of them are the Cowboys, well, now there's only 3 because now he's not going there anymore for sure. So that really helps our odds a lot.
I agreed, and I would also say from the beginning, I think the Bears were always the most likely. Drew in New Orleans, you got Drew Brees. He hasn't officially retired. He did give up like all his money, but he hasn't officially retired. You got Jameis down there. He's made a new deal, but he's down there currently. You got Taysom Hill. And they are way over the cap. They're like 60 million over the cap. The other one is Oakland, who has Derek Carr and has Marcus Mariota. Like the Bears, they're the only team that has nothing and also has a desperate head coach and GM that would swing through the fences. And from all the reports, it seemed like all the reports said like Russ would happily go to Chicago. Where have you seen the reports like that for the other teams? It always kind of seems like Chicago's been number one.
Yeah, on social media, definitely. And the thing is, people cite that a big reason for Russell Wilson wanting to leave is because of all the power and control Pete Carroll has. That are the things I've heard. And I mean, I don't know if there's a more secure coach that's more powerful than John Gruden in the whole NFL right now. Was that maybe Bill Belichick and people like that? So
that's a very good point.
Him not wanting to play with Pete Carroll, I don't see why he'd want to go play with Gruden, who's pretty much the same thing.
Or Sean Payton, for that matter.
Yeah.
So maybe he can start something up with Matt Nagy, and they could be because I mean I think Nagy's a good coach, but if Russ comes in, Nagy would almost view Russ as an equal, and they could do this together rather than Nagy having the power over Russ like Pete Carroll has right now. There's the reports that Pete Carroll wouldn't listen to Russell Wilson's input on the offense and stuff, which I think Nagy definitely would.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, if that's what it took to get him, I think he'd be willing to put that in. Plus, there's no doubt about it. If Russell Wilson comes to our team, which granted, most other teams could probably say this too, but if Russell Wilson came to our team, he would be the best player on our team. Well, I don't think there's much debate about that.
Let me share my screen.
At least definitely offense-wise. So you kind of have no choice but to listen to that guy.
He would be the best quarterback the Bears have ever had. No Bears quarterback has ever put up 4,000 yards. Russell Wilson's done that in 4 out of his 9 seasons, so half his seasons. Everyone was saying last year that Russ had a bad year.
Why do you have magic quadrant meeting solutions on the screen?
What?
Oh, hold on. Something just messed up on my computer.
Is it your computer?
Okay, I got it. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Something weird just popped up on my computer. Okay.
Everyone was saying Russ had a bad season last year. He had 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. I think any Bears fan would be super happy with that. A passer rating of 105.
Well, I don't think it was that he had a bad year, but he started off so hot and then he kind of fell off like towards the end of the season.
Well, that's exactly why he wants to be traded.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at those numbers. I mean, those are you can't deny that every year over 30 touchdowns, rarely over double-digit picks. I don't really care about passing yards personally. I'm not saying that because that's like his lowest, even though he has put up good numbers. I just don't think that's a very relevant stat. But I mean, you look at what this guy could do, and you also could see what he could do with his legs as well, which is something Matt Nagy likes obviously. We'd be crazy to not at least do whatever it took to try to get this guy.
Yeah. And I heard too that Russell's going to be watching what the Bears do this offseason. He's interested to see how the Bears address positions of need and stuff. And if he likes what the Bears are doing, then I have a feeling he'd be more in the GM's ear, like trade me to Chicago, trade me to Chicago, trade me to Chicago. So that brings up, well, who would he throw the ball to? We already have Jimmy Graham here, which he knows Jimmy Graham from their time together. Jimmy Graham's actually the one that's kind of recruiting him to Chicago. Cole Kmet, we'll see what he can do. I think he's promising. There was a report last week that Matt Nagy said Darnell Mooney could be just as good as Tyreek Hill and Deshaun Jackson.
I like Darnell Mooney a lot, but you got to pump the brakes on that one.
Okay, well, he did coach those two guys, so I think he would know what it takes. But that being said, then there's Allen Robinson. He's up in the air. We don't know if he's going to resign, but this receiving free agency class is really good.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think you could tell me, as much as I love A-Rob. I think he's a good player. Seems like a good personality to be on the team and stuff. But is he that much better than someone like Chris Godwin?
I don't even know if he is better than Chris Godwin, like, at all. Let alone much better.
I think Chris Godwin's in the slot, though. Is he a slot wide receiver?
I mean, yeah, but I'm sure. I mean, if nowadays the way players are, they're so versatile. I don't think they make a difference.
Yeah, I don't think he's that much better than Chris Godwin, and like you said, he might not even be better. T.Y. Hilton,
he's old.
He's 20. I think he's only 29.
Yeah, but he seems like he's just one of the guys.
He's got some miles on him.
Yeah. I'll put that.
Or Juju, but I'm saying there's a lot of. I wouldn't mind Juju. Okay, he's still super young.
That's a 100% someone who definitely cannot play on the outside at all. Period.
Oh, he's still super young.
What about Kenny Gallaudet? I think he's one of the more underrated receivers in the league. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Kenny Gallaudet, who's from, he's at least from Illinois, if not from Chicago.
He's from this area. Yeah, they talk about it on the games all the time.
Yeah, so there's like 5 wide receivers. I think A-Rob, he might be better than some of them, but I don't think he's that much better.
Yeah, I would say Gallaudet and Godwin, even if you think one is like a little bit better than the others, I was just your opinion, but I'd say they're all on like the same tier, more or less.
I think the Bears, I think they should just let's see how this all shakes out. If they don't get A-Rob, there's a good chance there's someone else sitting there who might actually be a little bit cheaper. So why not rush it? Let things kind of shake out. If some team wants to overpay for A-Rob, let them. But the Bears do have to address most definitely tackle and wide receiver in this free agency. And then maybe Russ would want then, push more for a trade to Chicago. We'll have to see what happens.
And then hold on, I don't mean to cut you off, but a few more things before we start talking about who we could stop and start picking up is it's like pretty much a well-known fact that a ton of like pretty solid veterans are probably going to get cut this year because of the salary cap and everything. So you never know who that could be. And then another thing is, this guy, we talked about him before on the show. I don't know how we would feel about bringing him in, but Antonio Brown is also a free agent who, I mean, yeah, you can say what you want about him, but I feel like he showed with Tampa Bay, he's still a pretty good player. And he probably would take a deal for cheap.
Yeah, especially the thing is, Antonio Brown's only coming if Russell Wilson's here.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though.
But he worked out with Russell Wilson, I remember, like last offseason or something when he was suspended. There was videos of him, in Seattle.
If Russell Wilson is here, though, like you said, there's about to be a bunch of veterans not re-signed or cut or whatever, then they would all be trying to come to Chicago because Russ is here. Okay, Russ is trying to build something. Let's link up with him. And Chicago's a great city, so why would they not want to go?
Yeah, who wouldn't want to live there? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, too, something we can sit here and talk about this all day all we want. Until Seattle's GM is like, okay, I will consider trading Russell Wilson. Like, we really can only say so much because at the end of the day, it's up to him. I think it's Snyder's his name, right?
Yeah, John Schneider. I'm pretty sure you're right. Here's I've said this. I've said this before. You might have to play the waiting game. You might not be able to trade for Russ or Deshaun for that matter until like the summer. So I wouldn't be opposed if the Bears sign someone like Alex Smith because I don't want them to run it back with Foles. Sign someone like Smith, trade for Gardner Minshew. And so I want them to take a 3 attack. I want them to sign a veteran or get someone like Gardner Minshew. And I want them to draft a guy in like the 3rd or 4th round. Maybe they could develop them. And then that way you got those 2 guys. Hopefully you get something out of them. And you can then wait for Deshaun or Russ in the summer. Because that might be the case. At least I think more so in Deshaun's case. It seems more like the long game. I think it's a huge risk. But I think it would be worth the reward, especially because you don't have a lot of competition and they got no trade clauses. So I don't think you'd be giving up too much for them if you wait longer.
Well, I think in terms of Deshaun Watson, I think he's more so to the point where he's literally just like, I'm not going to play. I will hold out. I will not show up to training camp. It doesn't matter. Whereas Russ, he hasn't officially said, like, I'm not going to show up here anymore. But I think Watson's pretty much let that be known.
That's the thing, though. I think it might wait. They might take for Watson not to show up, and it's already July, and he still hasn't shown up for the Texans and be like, oh, he's gone. We need to trade him.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The Bears might have to wait. And I would way rather them get a veteran, get some guy maybe you can develop, and then wait. I don't want them to draft someone like Mac Jones at 20. I rather them wait, and then you can swing for the fences.
Well, there is a rule in the NBA, and I don't know if it's in the NFL as well, but in the NBA, I think it's 90 days. You can't trade someone for 90 days after they've been drafted. So I don't know if that rule's in the NFL, but if it's not, if Seattle gives up Russell Wilson and they wait, they're going to need a quarterback to play for them. So even if we were to take someone like Mac Jones, who's to say he couldn't be involved in that trade? That's a young quarterback who just got picked in the first round. That's got to be somewhat appealing.
Fair enough. That also too about the waiting game. Russell Wilson's cap hit becomes significantly less if it's after June 1st or something. However, I was thinking, okay, then a trade won't happen until after June 1st. I think they can agree to it, but then not make it official until after June 1st.
Yeah.
However, that's not what the Eagles did. The Eagles are eating $34 million, and Russ would be about like the same. So who knows? Maybe that won't be a factor. Maybe that will be a factor. It's something to keep an eye on.
But there's also ways around that because I know teams could like send cash to another team to kind of take care of that too. So I feel like there's always kind of ways around that either way. But yeah, I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see because you just never know. It could happen at any time. It could be something out of the blue. You just never really know what could happen.
It is a thing where I am checking my phone, and every time I check my phone, I'm hoping to see Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Into the Bears. It's bad, but
no, I can't see Seattle not doing everything in their power to try to patch that up though at the same time. Like I don't think they're just like, oh, he's a little unhappy. Oh well, it's a lost cause. Like
I don't know. I think it's a lost cause, which is dumb. Why would they choose Pete Carroll over Russell Wilson?
The Patriots chose Belichick over Tom Brady.
I think Belichick's a little bit different than Carroll. Pete Carroll's also the oldest coach in the NFL.
Which is crazy because he looks pretty good for his age, I would say.
Yeah.
That really has nothing to do with anything, but every time I hear that, it does surprise me.
Yeah. Is there anything? Okay, what's like your limits on how much you would give up for Russ? Is there any limit?
Yeah, well, there's obviously always limits, right? Now, how far I'd be willing to go, I would probably give up anyone on our defense beside Mac and 3 first-rounders.
I would give up Mac.
And 3 first-rounders?
Yeah.
That's a lot to give up, though.
Look, I think Mac is a great player. I think he is underrated, actually, because he's always being held. He's always, he's still putting pressure on the quarterback. It might not show up in the stat sheet all the time, but I don't care. I think quarterback is just that important, and the Bears have never had quarterback. Bears quarterback conversation talk has to be like, they've been talking about this since the franchise was founded. I mean, they've had 2 decent quarterbacks. That's it. They've never had a guy, even if we had Matt Ryan, I would have loved just
to have the best quarterback we ever had, yeah.
Huh?
He could easily be the best quarterback.
Right. Even if we drafted a guy that just had the career Matt Ryan had, where he's easily consistent every year. But I mean, the Bears haven't had anything like that. So, and Ryan Pace is terrible with first-round picks, and the Rams haven't had a first-round pick since 2016, and they won't till 2023, and they're still a good football team. So, I mean, just trade away all the first-round picks. I could care less. We need a quarterback, especially someone like Russell Wilson.
Yeah, but I don't know. Something about it. I mean, God forbid, obviously I would never hope this happens, but let's say Russell Wilson gets Joe Theismann his first game on the Bears, then what do you have? I feel like you still have to have something, I'm not going to give up 5 first-round picks and Khalil Mack and fucking Eddie Jackson and David Montgomery. There's got to be some, borderline limit that you have to draw, in my opinion.
If he gets Joe Theismann, then he's just back next year. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, Dak just had his injury, and then he gets the second biggest quarterback contract in the league.
Yeah, good for him.
So I think number 1 is Mahomes, 2 Dak, 3 Watson, 4 Russell Wilson. So
that's crazy because it changes so much. I remember when it was Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford, and Carson Wentz for the 3 highest. It just changes every year.
It goes up and up.
Yeah.
One interesting nugget that I want to share too. Do you remember Mike Tice? He was the offensive coordinator for the Bears a long time ago in 2012. His son
The
went
name
to
sounds familiar, but I couldn't like put a name to a face.
Yeah, his son went to Wisconsin, and Mike Tice was pounding the table for the Bears to draft Russell Wilson back then. So,
Really?
I mean, it would be funny after all these years, he actually did end up coming to Chicago. So, just an interesting nugget there for you.
Yeah, some like trivia.
Yep. Any other thoughts or anything?
No, but I just want to say, I don't know how you would feel about this. Like maybe I should have talked about it first, but if the Bears off season is slow and like it's like something you guys, I know we say, oh, come in if you want this, and no one ever does, but if it's something you guys want to see, maybe like once, obviously not every day because that'd be way too much. Maybe like once a week or in like big situations. If you guys wanted to see like White Sox coverage, I know that's something we would probably be interested in doing if like that's something you guys would be interested in seeing. For the
Our White Sox video is our least watched video, but
yeah,
we could do it just to do it.
yeah.
And if we don't do it, just go check out our buddy Jack Thiel's podcast, who's been on here before. But I think we give a little bit different perspective than Jack. Jack's a professional, and we're drinking football guys to bring this full circle.
Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, because I feel like that would still be better than like nothing, you know.
Yeah. And you just talked about this offseason's going to be slow. It's not going to be slow for a while, at least, because next week is free agency. So there's going to be a lot to talk about then. The Bears are going to sign someone. I mean, they've never not come out with a big contract in free agency. Last year, we had Robert Quinn and Jimmy Graham, and that might have been it. Is there anyone else really?
Not off the rip, but then I remember we picked up Gibson like later on.
Oh, here's two things. Busted Screen has already been cut, which is okay. I mean, we got some young guys. Hopefully one of them can play for cheaper and do just the job he did. And also Bobby Massey isn't coming back either.
Thank God, dude. He's trying.
Well, we're going to have to fill 2 tackles because I don't think Charles Leno is coming back either. So luckily.
What about, I don't know, dude, do you see that tackle that was like a first-round pick? The guy traded for like a 7th-round pick earlier?
No, they switched 7th-round picks.
Yeah, okay, so what the hell? Why we couldn't have done that?
Yeah. That guy had a lot of off-the-field issues, but I also heard he has some kind of connection to B-Flow. They both went to the same high school or something. So I don't know about that situation, but I know that I was like, why couldn't you do that, Ryan Pace?
Yeah.
Luckily, we're good on the inside interior line. We're gonna have Whitehair back. We're gonna have Alex Bars and Sam Mustafa, which I thought they were both pretty good when they came in. And Jermaine Urfetti wasn't terrible. And we got James Daniels. We got 5 interior offensive linemen who I wouldn't care if they went out there and started, but maybe one of those guys can try out, at tackle or something like that. So,
yeah, I mean, you see that more and more now anyway. So,
I'm actually pretty sure that Cody Whitehair played tackle in college a little bit. So that could be wrong, but all right. So we will be back next week for sure. And I know we've said that we'll be back and we haven't been back, but free agency is next week. So there will be at least a lot of NFL news to talk about, and I wouldn't mind talking about it. And then after that, we'll have draft and baseball mixed in between, White Sox baseball. So go ahead, don't like this and don't subscribe because you guys don't do it. So I'm going to just say don't do it. Maybe this time you actually will.
Matter of fact, dislike it and unsubscribe.
Yeah, please, actually. Yeah. All right. See you later, Drew.
Bye.